Welcome back to We Still Like Each Other, the podcast. I'm Travis.
And I'm Stephanie.
And this is the podcast where we show that the honeymoon stage can last forever.
Forever and ever.
Hey, baby.
Hey, Daddy.
How are you?
I'm good.
What's going on?
I miss you.
You miss me?
It's been busy.
Yeah, it has been.
Hectic.
It's been super busy.
And we've been together. But
Yeah.
I miss you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Like some quality.
And quality time to do nothing. I kind of want to just smell your neck and just stay in it and just watch TV or something. I don't want to do anything exciting, but just chill with you.
I feel like the sad reality is it's going to be a while.
Yeah. Summer's been busy. Kids busy. Life busy.
Trying to be creatives.
Let's talk about it. So it's been a while since you've seen us. These episodes will continue to be sporadic for further notice. So thank you for tuning in to us. But we are now in a new venture, sort of, right?
I'd say so.
So go ahead, tell us about it.
No, I need you to lead me because you know me, I'll overshare. So lead me to the water, then I'll know, all right, it's safe to say this.
From jump, when we did this podcast, obviously it's because we wanted to. We enjoyed it. Travis had a thing, I guess, for being able to edit podcasts, audio, video. But, of course, there was a goal of making some money in this through marketing, through digital advertisements. But through the podcasting space, we didn't have much success in that. And now that we've kind of transitioned to being parents of 3 kids and things have been super busy and I'm a full-time stay-at-home mom and now we're a family of 5, we've pivoted into how to make money through the digital space. And we're focusing now on being content creators, right?
Yeah, so definitely more social media driven.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to show our talents through there.
Yeah, without losing this. We want to always have this podcast, even if, the episodes grow further and further apart. But coming back to this moment, even just now, there was a lot of buildup and stress and making sure we sat here today. But the minute you said the intro, I just felt a little pull towards you, which is why I reached out and grabbed your hand because I just felt this is us. This is the core of this whole social media thing for us.
Yeah, definitely. That stress of getting everything ready, I've definitely felt it. I was like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
But then to your point, once, lights, camera action. You take a sip of some Sang Vietnamese coffee and you're like, all right, we're here. We're back at it. So
take another sip.
But yeah, it's definitely been some, I don't know, rewarding work. I've always felt accomplished doing the podcast for the 3 years, going on 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I've always felt really accomplished doing it. And now to be still creative in another aspect, it feels good to get some fruits of your labor. And we have some things that we've done that you haven't even seen, which is pretty exciting. And the goal is to keep it going without feeling like a billboard.
I think go ahead, you go. What are you gonna say?
So but I meant something different by that. I know it's where Steph is going to go. When I say without feeling like a billboard, where I meant when you come to our page, you're not just seeing ad.
So Steph we're still creating authentic content,
things
the podcast.
Whatever, things that come to us. But what Steph is about to say
is what?
Is without feeling like we trying to chase every dollar.
Yeah. I want to make money in this and I want to be a content creator. We are content creators. We are digital marketers. But I don't want to ever come off as inauthentic. So everything that we do promote, create content for will be products or services that we truly stand by. I want to remain authentic because it won't matter that we're content creators if no one trusts our voice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me is not allowing the need for money to I guess diminish my integrity, our integrity as a brand, as a family.
Yeah. I agree. It's taking me some time to get there. I won't lie. Because for me, I'm just like, yo, this company is going to pay us X amount of dollars to say that this pill will make your thing grow.
And I'm like, no.
She's like, even though you need it, no.
No.
But yeah, I agree with stuff. And I think, we're all out here hustling. We're all trying to get to the dollar, and I'm no different. So there's that urgency for me.
And listen, I feel it. Like, I never thought I'd be a stay-at-home mom. I am now, but bills are expensive, food's expensive, and the reality is, if push comes to shove, I would have to give up this lifestyle, and I'm not ready to do that. I love the life we've created with our kids being a homeschool family, and I don't want you to work 2 full-time jobs and you're never home. So we have this gift, because I genuinely do think that we have a gift, and I want to max it without losing integrity.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think I think I can be patient, and then the things will come to us. I'm trying to speak some affirmations out there that,
Yeah.
that
I feel like our integrity will pay off. Like, if we're holding out and doing only things that speak to us,
mm-hmm.
or things that we already genuinely use, those bigger deals and those bigger brands will come.
Yeah, there was a perfect example of something that happened recently that we'll probably share in the next few weeks, but it's like, oh, we already use this. No brainer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think, to your point, I just have to take a beat and it's going to come.
Definitely. I saw this post actually on Instagram. I feel like probably because we're having these talks, I don't know if it's a coincidence or if it's our FBI agent that listens to us.
Hey.
But there was a post about making money, and the creator basically broke it down about feminine ways of making money and masculine ways. And not literally jobs, but more so our attitudes.
Like approaches.
And approaches to making money. And I was like, interesting. So feminine, it says you integrate your playfulness and sensuality in your work. But in masculine, you put all of your feelings aside. You're focused and serious. In feminine, you love what you do and you enjoy yourself and the process. But masculine, you do what you need to do. Your main focus is on your goals.
Mm.
Feminine, you celebrate every win and every achievement. But in masculine, the moment you reach a milestone, you're ready to set the next target and you start working on it. So it's like more drive.
I 1,000% agree.
I feel like I showcase a little bit of both.
I was going to say, I feel like, just because it's feminine and masculine, I feel like men and women can step into both.
Yeah, because again, we've definitely covered this. Like, at least for us, our understanding of feminine versus masculine isn't man versus woman. It's more so qualities that people have. 2 more that I wanted to just read. Feminine way of approaching making money is you tune into your heart before you set the next goal. Masculine, you go for the logical next step or goal. And I feel like I've been trying to like lead with my heart, my mind, my gut. Like if something doesn't feel right, I'm not going to do it. Whereas you're looking at the dollar signs, the numbers. And again, this is the beginning of our journey. And I'm so glad that we're having these discussions when literally we're talking about dollars amounts that are not life-changing at all. We're talking about maybe part of a grocery bill for the week. But if we're having these conversations now, it's going to be beneficial for when the deals and the opportunities get bigger for us.
Yeah.
There was one feminine thing here that I feel like you're the one who has this trait. and I'm the one who has the masculine version.
Okay.
It says, you start your day with a feminine ritual or practice, something to nourish you. And the masculine way is after you wake up, you quickly go into work mode. And I think this is just because I tend to sleep into the last minute where you like your morning ritual. Like you won't sleep the extra 20 minutes just so you can have a long shower. You like iron your clothes, you take your time, you pack your bag. And I'm just like, I'd rather sleep an extra 30 minutes than do all that.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's somewhat true, but it's also I always have this fear of being late, even when I'm nowhere near being late. So some people, you wake up like 20 minutes before your alarm, and I'm just like, all right, might as well get up. It gives me that extra time to maybe move slower than I probably normally would, take an extra 10-minute shower or something. So yeah, I guess I'm a little feminine in that
in
sense.
that regard. Where I'm like rushing out the door, but then it gives me stress and anxiety. So I should have a better method. I wanted to, before we jump into our topic, share some news about our son. I don't know how to even approach even saying this, but this is part of our recap. And I just feel like if I don't say it, it's like I'm hiding it and I'm not. I don't know.
Yeah. So for River, our son, our second son,
our 2-year-old,
2.5-year-old. I would say since he was about 1, maybe a little before. Well, let Steph tell it. She'll say she always like noticed a few things about him that were a little different. But recently, River was clinically diagnosed with autism. We've always had some maybe like a signs that pointed that it was potentially there. And we were even getting him services through the state. So it was something that we were on top of early. And now that we have an official diagnosis, it doesn't change anything. If anything, it just gives us more routes to take in ways of getting him services.
I think for me, I've worked with children with autism before. I worked in self-contained classes in public schools and had children with autism in the class. So I knew early on. I just recognized it. And then I remember voicing my concerns to you, and then, that made you kind of aware. And, our first sign, because I know people are probably like, what do you mean you recognized right away? The first definitive sign for me was when he never really responded to his name. So if you call him River, he doesn't look at you. He kind of just ignores you. But it's not really like he's ignoring you, because ignoring you has a negative connotation, like it's on purpose. I just feel like he's not processing that as something he has to respond to. So the first step was getting his hearing checked. He passed that. So then it was just getting him early intervention services. So he got a teacher, a special education teacher. Then he got an occupational therapist for some other needs that he had, and speech, which he's been getting for a couple of months now. And now he has an official ASD diagnosis. So that just adds some clarity to how to support him. And it also just gives me a better understanding of how to support him for him to be homeschooled, because I also plan to homeschool him as well. So that's another journey we're on now, which makes us even busier.
Yeah. When Steph was saying that, she noticed signs earlier, you have to keep in mind that when I came into Eli's life, he was already 1, like just turned 1. So I never, outside of like my nephews who, I'm not paying attention. I never really experienced from a newborn to age 1. So River was my first time like really locked in with that. So to me, I'm just like, everything appears on the surface. I just have a
Typical
typical
son.
typical
Baby.
newborn, toddler, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this weird sense of denial that you go through, and then obviously you deal with conversations of the opinions of others, family members, friends who are just like, give us some time,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little annoying, but I think I give those people grace because I understand that it's a concept that a lot of people don't have to deal with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not even a concept, a reality that a lot of people don't have to deal with. But living with it, you're just like, oh yeah, my son is not typical,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna be a journey. But I also, some days I look at him and I'm like, what would he? I don't know how it would feel if he was typical, right? Because a lot of the reason I love him so much is because of
His differences, his
autism.
quirks. Like, it makes us love him in a different kind of way. It's like, it's
Yeah.
hard to explain, but he invokes this warmth like in my chest that like I can't even explain it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nothing like your kid just like straight up ignoring you. And you just want to like be cuddly with them, and they're just like
Nah.
stiff arming you, or you're like good morning and they're just like walking past you, or just like dragging you to go get breakfast.
And it's funny to us because we love him to death, but we kind of like laugh at each other when we're like trying to like love up on him and he just ignores us. It's like funny.
Like sometimes when he's like I always like, usually I'll check on him before we go to bed, and I'm like, you want to go get a cuddle in? Like, because that's the only time you could really.
Yeah.
But lately.
Yes, I was gonna touch on that.
Lately, River has just been like, Steph will like be sitting on the couch and he'll just come cuddle up on her.
It would last like 5 seconds, but
yeah,
those
it's precious.
5 seconds feel like everything. I'd be like, look at River, he's hugging me, he's on top of me, and I'm like, damn, you didn't look fast enough. He left.
Yeah, and this, every day is like a gift. Like I guess having a child with special needs, you appreciate those moments or those small things that maybe if he was typical, I'd just be like, whatever. Like the other day I walked into his room first thing in the morning. I always say like, hi or good morning. And randomly, which I don't use this word, he goes, hello. I was just like, hello. And I'm watching, because we have a camera in his room, so I'm watching the video.
Yeah, like saving the clips.
Whereas, like, if I walked into Eli's room and he's like, hello, I'm like, what you saying? So, yeah, it's not going to be easy, but I think we can both find the beauty in it.
Yeah, definitely. And as prepared as I thought I was, like, I'm the one who was advocating from the jump, got his hearing checked, early intervention, speaking with his like advocate, pushing for him to get speech, just knowing, setting up the appointment with the neurologist. And like, I knew he didn't have a diagnosis, but I'm like, he's probably autistic. And then when they were like, oh yeah, he's autistic, it felt like my world caved in. Like, how? Like, I knew, but then like it being official, I cried so much. Like, I haven't cried that much probably when Munchie's funeral, but it was like a tough day for me. And I was just like, why am I feeling this way?
Yeah. I think I don't know, it's tough because you cry, or at least I didn't get emotional until you got emotional, obviously, because I feel like I have accepted it. And it's one of those things where, at least for me, I got emotional thinking about like his life. And I don't worry about him in the safety of our homes or in the safety of our in our presence.
Yeah.
But it's just hoping that we're able to equip him to navigate the world.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately we're not going to be here forever. And, although he's going to have an older brother, he's going to have a sister, and all signs are pointing to that Santi is typical. Like, now that I have like a typical daughter, I can see where the difference is with River, right? So although he'll have his siblings, like, he still is going to have to navigate this world at some point without us. And that's, you hope that this world grows into a more accepting world.
You just reminded me of what happened in the park yesterday.
You can tell the story.
Yeah, so we're at the playground and there's a splash pad. So it's like an area with sprinklers. River saw the water and he was intrigued, so he wanted to go in. So fine, we go inside. He takes some time to warm up, play with the water. He's having a ball. He's running around, touching the water. But one thing about River is he kind of plays on his own. He doesn't join other kids in their play. But some kids had like this squirter thing and he wanted to grab it. So he just went and took it because, he's 2 years old and he just took it. So the kid got upset and was like, no, and like took it back from River. But River didn't say anything. He kind of just like, okay, he walked away. But the kid was so upset that he took it in the first place that he started squirting him in the face, like he was angry. And then it was just like a moment of panic for me, like,
I just heard stuff. So hey, stop! And mind you, we're watching River from the outside of like I guess you call it like a water sprinkle park or whatever. It's like a circular thing, and we're watching him from the outside because one, we weren't prepared to go there,
so we weren't dressed to get wet.
River was running around with no t-shirt and some jean shorts
and sneakers
but whatever. So we're like, all right, when we have to go get him, we'll go get him, but for the most part we're just watching from the outside. But then I see stuff like
getting in the water. I'm like, hey, hi. And River's just kind of like dodging like he's just trying to block it, but he's not really, defending himself because he's 2. So then the parents saw and were like, hey, stop that. But then my heart is racing and then I'm like, this could have went bad. Like, what if his parents got upset that I was like, hey, and like, or what if instead of squirting him in the face, he like pushed him to the ground? Like, what do I do? And it's just like, and then you're overthinking because it's like, this could have happened with typical kids. It's the same situation. But in my heart, I'm more protective because I'm
this kid knows he has autism and he's fucking with my baby.
And I didn't want to go there because I don't want to be a Karen mom. You know what I'm saying? But it was just that reminder of like, at least he's 2. They saw he's in a diaper. He's a baby. What's going to happen when he's 5 or 6? And then he's not a small child. He's in the 99th percentile. So
For size.
So when he's 5, he might look 7 or 8. And, people are going to probably be intimidated by his size. And I just worry.
Even before we had any ideas of, River being on the spectrum, I always used to say, I don't know if you remember, but I always say, I'm going to have to like fight some kids at the playground because they're going to think he's a lot older.
Yeah, because he's just so big. Yeah.
And it adds another layer to it with autism.
Yeah.
So it's like my motivations for staying fit, they're evolving every day.
I will say this generation of kids that's coming up, they're a lot more accepting and a lot more open and caring, and I gotta just be positive.
Yeah.
We kind of went on a tangent there, but that's what we've been up to.
Yeah.
You ready to get into our topic of the night?
Yeah, let's do it.
So it's kind of heavy. It's
heavier than that.
It's heavier than that. Oh. It's just been heavy for us. Oh no. But I wanted to talk about postpartum depression. I had saw a post that was going viral about like someone asking, I want to know a man's perspective on postpartum depression. So I was like, maybe this is something Travis and I can talk about on the show. So before we got too deep in it, I wanted to know like what misconceptions or stigmas are around postpartum depression. I don't know if you want to go first or if I should go first.
You should go first.
Okay, so I remember growing up, the first time I ever heard of postpartum depression, it was because there was a mom who I believe she like murdered like 5 of her kids, like drowned them. And then the defense was postpartum depression.
Okay.
So that was like the first time I ever heard it, and it was attached to such a horrific story.
Did she get off?
I can't remember. But my understanding from then on was like postpartum depression was this very extreme, it makes you kind of have murderous and suicidal type of thoughts, right? I didn't think of it. It was just tainted, right? As I got older,
very extreme.
Very extreme. As I got older, that changed. But then I was listening to an episode of Horrible Decisions, actually. And they had this other podcast. I think they were called like something Moms. It was like a mom podcast.
Good Moms, Bad Choice or something? Good
Moms, Bad Choices,
I think that's the name.
And one of the hosts was like, have you ever felt that? She goes, wow, I just can't believe that like you would have that feeling to want to like kill your kids. So I'm like, wow, people still have that misconception that that's what postpartum depression is. And it can be. That could be the extreme. But that isn't.
That's not. Yeah.
What's typical for women who are dealing with postpartum. And it's just sad because that's why a lot of women are so afraid to even admit that they have it, because it's like, I don't want people to think that. Or it's why women are in denial because they're like, I don't feel that. Like, I'm not feeling that. Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I'm just overstimulated. Like, it's not depression because I don't have these extreme thoughts.
Does every woman deal with postpartum? I mean, because technically it's like anything post.
So, no. So every woman, most women, I don't want to say every because it's hard to be 100%.
Yeah.
But there's something called the baby blues. So giving birth is like a big experience, right? And you just finish, being pregnant for 9 months, the changes in your body and the hormones, like physiologically, the things going on in your body returning to normal, it could impact your mood. So that can happen those first 2-3 weeks. And that's considered normal. It's not depression. It becomes depression when it's like beyond that and is more persistent. I'm going to just read something that I found online, so I'm not making shit up. So it says, postpartum depression is a medical condition that can affect women after giving birth. It's characterized by intense feelings of sadness, anxiety, and tiredness that last for a long time and can make it difficult to care for yourself and your baby. Postpartum depression can occur at any time after birth, but it often begins in the first couple of weeks.
Is there a cutoff?
Yes. I don't think I copied that part, but I've heard and seen that it could be like the first 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
Of having a baby.
That's wow.
Yeah. But then it's very similar to depression. So depression, it says, is common and serious mental health condition that can affect anyone. It's characterized by persistent feelings of sadness, loss of interest in activities for long periods of time. Depression can also cause symptoms including disrupted sleep, changes in appetite, low self-worth, thoughts of dying and hopelessness, tiredness, and poor concentration. And all of these first things for regular depression, I can already see how in the postpartum period, all of these things are happening because you're exhausted, your body's changing, so your self-worth is changing, your hormones are changing, so your appetite is changing, your baby's up at night, so your sleep is disrupted. So all of those things that are just needed to have a newborn are symptoms of depression. So I guess all of those just could, it increases your risk.
Yeah.
So yeah, now let's talk about us. What has been your experience with postpartum depression? Because, people want to know what men are thinking or feeling.
So I guess in order to answer that first, I have to like give my view of you as a person or as a woman.
Okay.
since I've known you, you've always been a go-getter. Can't stay still. You gotta, once you're complete one thing, you're on to the next. Sometimes you're taking on two, three, four things at the same time. You just always go, 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 go. And a lot of those traits carry over into the way you are as a mother. So I've seen it with Eli when we got pregnant with the River. For me, I mean, it was very similar. I felt like you just kept go, 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 go. It was it didn't feel any different. It was just like, that's the woman I married and that's who she is. And, I don't think I even had any I guess fear that you would even experience any type of postpartum.
Yeah. So you kind of were just,
I was just like, oh,
it wasn't even
she popped out the baby,
thought.
Natural birth, so even better because she could, get back on her feet even quicker, and we're just gonna go on as life as usual.
Yeah. And then did that change?
That did change. I don't think that I immediately, or even you, picked up on that it was, we're calling this postpartum. It's just like, you're not your normal self. You're not your go-getter self. Your energy's down. Your ambition is down. Your
you know what made me really realize that I was dealing with postpartum with River? He was already like over 6 months, and we were here, and I was having not even lack of motivation, but just I felt sad and on the verge of tears often without an explanation. Like I couldn't say why. I just knew I was sad. And then trying to like explain that was just so difficult. Like, how do you say I'm sad even though nothing happened?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I think this is, at least for me, what postpartum is like. And then it was frustrating because I couldn't, like, life felt good. Like, in terms of on paper, I didn't feel like I had any really external stressors. I'm like, I'm just sad.
Yeah.
I have no explanation, but I want to cry. That was the indicator for me.
Yeah. It's difficult, as it's, let me be careful how I say this. Like, it's difficult to like want to support your partner in those moments and just have no idea how to, because even if it wasn't postpartum, maybe if it was just like depression or something, it's still like, it's not something you can do. It's just something that you're experiencing. Your body chemically is just going through this. And
so you feel like there's nothing you could do? I'm not judging you. I'm just trying to have this conversation.
I think at the time when it was coming up, when we were, maybe first facing it, I felt like a little helpless.
Gotcha.
In hindsight, I think I could have definitely been more proactive, just in terms of our lifestyle at the time, check-ins, taking things off your plate, even though looking back at it, you were just kind of like just doing things you always do, cleaning, cooking, being supportive of me. Like, it just felt like we were just in our normal routine, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're crying, or you're being a couch potato that day, or whatever. And another thing is, I never felt like I couldn't take care of the kids or I couldn't do what they needed. So then I was just neglecting myself. I was putting myself last in all those situations. And I think maybe what I realized was making it worse was not just sitting with those sad feelings. Like, I felt like
what finally helped was acknowledging it. Like, I'm just sad and I'm going to be sad and I could sit on the couch today and I'll try again tomorrow. Like
Yeah.
that's all I needed in that moment. I feel like with Santi, that go-getter in me has been much harder to find, especially the beginning. I felt like the sleep deprivation hit me hard this time. Like I just felt tired. Like I'd give anything to just stay in the bed. And it hit me a lot harder.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know how you could have supported me.
Yeah.
I think I know one thing.
Go.
The mental load. Like I feel, especially when I've been feeling depressed and tired, I was very triggered when you would ask me questions that felt like I'm falling behind on something. Like even something as simple as like, what's for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
Would feel like,
It's like a trigger.
oh my God, like I feel like shit. I'm tired. I'm like barely getting through the day. And on top of that, I have to be the one to figure out dinner. So like that mental load of just like sharing it with me would be so helpful.
Yeah. I think because kind of jumping all over the place, but focusing on this round of postpartum with Santi, I think we got into the habit of not checking in with each other and just kind of using the excuse that we're just tired and there's just so much going on and not prioritizing that.
Like our meetings
or just normal. Like it didn't have to be so formal. Like literally just before we go to bed, instead of, I don't know, scrolling or even having sex, like let's take a moment to like check in with each other. And as a man, you think, oh, just made love to my wife, everything's good. Like you I don't know,
you're like coasting, living through it day to day.
Yeah.
And not being intentional about checking in.
Yeah. And new day, start fresh, and just not thinking it, eventually it's going to burst.
Yeah.
And, I feel like I ignored a lot.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about something that I feel like is a big misconception. Even with the therapist I spoke with 2 different therapists before Santi. Since having Santi, I haven't seen a therapist, but I feel like both of them made me feel like, maybe it's like if the kids were the problem, like if I needed time away from the kids. And both times of feeling like depressed, I've never felt like, oh my God, I just need space from the kids. If anything, what I needed support with was everything else, like dinner, getting some sleep, having time to wash my hair. But I never felt like my kids were like too much. I know that this time I was like, let me let my close friends, people know that what I'm going through. And one of my friends instantly, because it makes sense, she was like, we can go out. And what I realized is like, that's not what I want. I want support here. Maybe like if my friends could come one day so that I could like clean my kitchen the way I like to clean it, or I could wash my hair, or just be with my kids, but with another adult around and have conversations.
Without having to be like on alert.
Yeah. Or I feel like also planning to go out is stressful.
It's a task.
Like, no, come over. So don't assume what someone needs when they're going through it. Kind of ask, like, be explicit. How can I support you? And everyone looks different.
Yeah. I did know that we were gonna talk about this. I did write you a little something.
You did?
Yeah, it was. I mean, y'all know.
When was this?
Well, we were gonna do this a while ago, so
Oh,
I don't fully remember what I wrote, but it was how I was feeling at the time. It's short.
okay.
Um, I said, I am deeply sorry for not showing up for you in the ways you needed while you were dealing with postpartum.
Mm.
Even now with Santi, I know I'm capable of doing better. You are the strongest human I know, and I want to do better to support you in all the ways in your time of need. That goes for dealing with postpartum and beyond. You provide me with so much peace in this crazy world. I'm going to put my best foot forward to provide you with the same. I love you and I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's hard because it's like, even before dealing with postpartum depression, I don't know how I would show up for someone who was depressed or
Yeah.
had anxiety or any type of mental health issues. Like, I don't know how to approach that or deal with that. It's kind of like any other social thing. For example, like a death in the family. If your coworker's like, "Oh, my mom died," it's like, how do you approach that? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know the
Yeah.
right way to show support in a lot of many different areas.
Yeah. I mean, kind of taking it back, I don't know how to show up for another autistic kid, but I
Mm,
know how to show up for mine. Um, I do think, though, now that have some experience with postpartum with you, it does give me some type of like just having the knowledge and also the what's the word I'm looking for? Just being understanding, right?
yeah.
Like I have a sister who's pregnant, is gonna give birth in the next few
Mhm.
months, right? Recognizing what I saw in you, like maybe when I go to visit her, there are things that I could be like, I could check in with her, you know?
Mhm. And I feel like for me, the way you have shown up for me, and I know not perfectly, you work and life is crazy and I can't fault you 100%, but one way you have shown up is like I'll notice just like giving me that extra time to like lay down in the morning or bringing me coffee, or if I'm in a couch potato mood, you kind of just let me be, and I appreciate that. Mhm.
Yeah. I know, like I don't want to sugarcoat it, right? Like
Mhm.
I you don't take time to write something like that if you don't feel like you let your person down. And
You fucked up.
I feel like I definitely have. I could have done a lot better. And it's not too late. But looking back, I don't want to sugarcoat it as like, oh, just a few missteps. Like, no, let's call a spade a spade. Like, could have did a lot better. And I want to be
But
like,
how so? Like, I feel like I'm always trying to defend you and like be understanding, and I don't know.
I
I don't
think
know what's right to like give you grace or to like hold you accountable. And I guess there's a way to do both, but I
I
struggle with that.
I appreciate you giving me grace, but I think if anyone could be a critic here, it's myself, right?
Mm.
So whereas most people listening, watching will be like, he didn't know. But I also think we live in a world where we have information at our fingertips. And I think going into like being a father, a father again, from like going through a pregnancy from newborn to 1 years old, right?
Hmm.
I could have taken some time to do some research. I was just kind of like, oh, Steph is taking care of these things.
I
I
also think it's not even the research part. I feel like just being a little bit more aware of the subtle changes in my mood, in my behavior, and just picking up on those cues
mm,
instead of brushing them off.
like Bronx Latina. Oh, she'd be all right.
um, yeah.
No, but I appreciate the grace, and I'm happy you don't hold it over me. I think I just want to, you know, you're still going through it, right? So I just want to support you.
And it's so crazy, the feelings, because it's up and down. Like some days I feel like I'm on top of the world, and then some days it's just like, oh, I need a little bit more rest today.
Yeah. And some days you can't.
I can't rest.
You can't. Like it's just not possible. Like, we have 3 little people, 3 humans that rely on us to, be there for them. So, I feel for you in that sense. Like, I'm sure I've said this on this podcast before, but I am not doing the hard thing by getting up early and going to New York City and being in an office full with adults. I'm like, I'm not doing the hard thing.
Yeah.
The hard thing is being sleep deprived, waking up at 7 a.m., getting breakfast ready for 3 little people, keeping their minds stimulated, keeping their bodies going. Oh, wait, did you feed yourself? Oh, I gotta work out. Also, I gotta make sure that I'm homeschooling. I have a son with autism. Oh, I have a newborn. All I have to do is like, what do you need me to do, sir? All right, I did the thing, sir. All right, thank you for my check. Have a good day. See you tomorrow. Well, let's do it again. And I get to talk to adults in the process at the coffee machine. Like, not doing the hard thing. I mean, there's layers to it. Like, obviously, staying employed and all that stuff.
It's important.
It deserves a small pat on the back. But in the grand scheme, like, I know people at work who have openly said to me, like, man, I love when I get to come to work. Because to get that escape. And, I'm just doing what millions of people do. Yeah. There's not as many people like you. So, thank you.
And I don't want people to think that I don't love my life, that I don't love my kids, that I regret staying home, because I don't. It's just a mood thing, and it has to do probably with like a shift in my identity and who I am, hormones, body. Like 2 kids in 3 years and 2.5 years does things to your body. Comments. I feel like I've been struggling with how to set boundaries with certain people in our lives. With the language people use to discuss our son, and like how to give people grace, but how to defend my child without sounding like a bitch. And a lot of that, I think that impacts my mood and my stress. And like certain people trigger me and stress me out. And it's like, how do you set boundaries? It's a lot.
Yeah.
But it's not this choice in this life that I've selected for myself. It's not that.
No.
And I think that's needs to be abundantly clear.
And it's also like, I know you're saying that just for the record, right? It's also, no matter where you are in life, you could be a multi-millionaire. There's things you could be stressed about, complain about.
Yeah.
We all have things that, like, someone on the outside be like, or the most famous saying, the grass isn't always greener, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're all going through things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this little quote that I wanted to share before we end things. It says, "To love someone is to attend 1,000 births of who they're becoming." So I thought the word births, we're talking about postpartum, it's like a good quote.
Which birth? How many births do you think we've had since we've met each other?
So many. We've evolved so many times.
I even look at pictures. Like the other day, I posted on our stories a photo of us from your graduation, or like your pre-graduation.
Oh, right before my master's, like a little ceremony thing.
Yeah, because you didn't have like a graduation.
No, because what happened was I technically finished and graduated in December, but there wasn't a ceremony until June. So that December, they had like a little ceremony, but then June was COVID, so I didn't ever have a graduation anyway.
But yeah, I shared that photo, and it's just like, damn, I remember I remember that time of our lives. You know, I
Yeah.
remember where we were living. I remember taking the train there. I remember those sneakers. I remember that blazer. It's just
Yeah.
you had like a what color was your hair?
Green.
Green. It's an interesting time.
And that's physical stuff. Those are materialistic things. But
No,
imagine like,
but I point to those things as like those are markers, right?
yeah,
So like,
yeah.
oh, I remember when Travis had no hair and light beard or that shirt or whatever. So yeah, I feel like that's something interesting to like consider. How many evolutions of ourselves have we been married to?
Yeah. Someone commented, not only is it all these births of who you're becoming, but it's like all the deaths of who you're not anymore and leaving behind certain traits. You know, like people be like, you changed, as if that's a bad thing. We're supposed to change. But sometimes people want the old you.
Yeah.
And in relationships, it's like your evolutions have to align.
Yeah. I feel like there's definitely been times where your evolution has forced my evolution, right? And just being, straight up honest here is like, there's been times where I've seen Steph on a path to like, perfect example. Steph, we spoke about this on the last. Steph decided to do that challenge, right? When she told me about it, it was like, I'm doing the challenge. There was no conversation about me joining. But immediately, like my brain, the wheels in my head went spinning, and she told me, and I'm like, I got to join her because I already could see where this is going to go. It's going to, it could either go to like, she's on this journey, she's getting fit, and it's just like leaving me behind, right? And not leaving me, but just leaving me behind. Or two, there could be some resentment where it's tough if you're like, you have a partner who's like on the couch eating ice cream, watching TV, and you're like, you're supposed to suddenly get this, suddenly supposed to get energized to go work out. You're like, no, I want to go cuddle up with my partner who's looking comfy on the couch eating junk food. So when he told me, I don't know if you remember, but it was like almost immediate where I was like, I'll join you. But in my head, time froze.
You did all those backflips in your head.
I ran all those calculations and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm doing it too.
Yeah.
And even now, like there are days where I'm pushing you to work out. And, I think that's a perfect example of you forcing my evolution.
Yeah. I sometimes worry, like, when do we ever get to the point where we're just content with who we are? I saw someone on Threads wrote, you don't always have to be working on yourself. But in my head, I'm like, you kind of do. At least for me, maybe having kids and like they're evolving and growing and changing. So that causes us to have to be doing it.
I get it though. Because I feel like I wrote that, right? Because that's my burner. I get it because it's just like, chill, chill, smell the roses, or like life is good, like I know it could always be better, but it's like at what cost?
Yeah.
We could bust our ass. You could go back to work. We could probably get bigger and better things, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Let's take a moment.
And that isn't, I feel like I'm at a point where I'm not trying to do bigger, better, more expensive things. I just want to put some money away for my kids' college funds, not have debt.
Yeah.
And have some money so when I'm old as shit, I don't got to go to a nursing home.
I use
and that's it.
I use money as an example, but it could be anything. Like I agree. There needs to be a healthy balance of like growing and evolving and also appreciating where you're at.
Yeah. Cause like fitness, I remember I was talking to Ashley and it's just like, for how much I'm gonna be like protein and like get jacked, but it's like, is that the goal to like be swole, or is the goal to just be mobile and strong and have some endurance?
I think pretty recently, I've come to the conclusion that I just want to be active. Although sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, I could see little differences, like see different cuts that, but I also don't want to chase that because I also know how I get, and it would fucking drive me crazy. Like yesterday we went to the movies and had a soda. It wasn't the end of the world. I'm still drinking water every other, like,
Yeah.
the rest of the month. I had a moment to drink soda, but I know that those people get really anal with things like
And you
that.
were getting kind of, it was a little scary.
Because I just felt like I have to really dive into it, or else I'm gonna just not
like you're
take
all in or you're not.
exactly. So I've come to the conclusion with my fitness journey, I just want to keep active.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy I moved my body today, and that's it. And if with that comes like this amazing looking body, great. But if it doesn't come, I'm not going to be stressed out. If I have a little belly, or my arms aren't as big as I want, or my legs aren't as toned as I want, so I'm not going to get stressed out.
Yeah,
and
I want to be active, mobile.
I feel like you need to do the same, because sometimes I worry that maybe you're wanting different results from it.
Because I had 3 babies.
But you're also like, every time someone sees you that hasn't seen you in forever, what do they always say?
I know, but that also stresses me out.
Why?
Like when people say things like, you don't even look like you had a baby.
3 babies? Where?
And I get it. And it's with good intentions. And I know it just makes me feel like now I'm crazy for like the things I do notice,
Yeah.
Like if I'm not entitled to like be like, but I don't feel the same, my stomach. Like, I guess, I don't know. It sounds kind of like, what's a good example, a good analogy? Like I shouldn't be complaining. Like I'm 135 pounds. I'm tall, I'm slim. And I know it sounds fucking stupid when I complain. So those are just reminders of that. But then it's also like, there's that voice in my head. And there's also the eyes that are seeing me in the mirror. So it just makes me feel kind of confused and crazy. Like, why is it that I don't see what other people see?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It goes back to my example of like you can have a multimillionaire complaining about their lives. Like there's always going to be someone who's just not, differing experiences. I get it. Because yeah, people will say the same about me, and I get it. It's frustrating. I do think you can feel those things, but also kind of like bring yourself back to reality and see how fortunate you are.
Yeah. And I am. I know.
But I just don't want you to get too crazy with that.
Yeah. I think part of it too is that realization that we're aging, and I'm looking older. Like my sister posted this picture the other day. I was like 39 weeks pregnant with Santi, or 38 weeks. And it was just a cute selfie of us. And she posted it on like, it was like Sister's Day. Who knows? These made up holidays. And the whole, like, it was just like, oh my God, I look so much older than her in this picture. And I am older than her, 8 years older. But like, it never seemed that way. And I like noticed like the wrinkles near my eyes. And I was just like, oh, like being a millennial was like cool and young and hip. And now everyone's posting about millennials like we're the old heads.
What did Eli just come to us and say?
That he's Gen Alpha. And I'm just like, wow, like now we're the slightly older generation. Like Gen Z is the new millennial. And like, yeah. I think all of that is what also causes the anxiety around my looks.
Yeah. My birthday's next week. 36. And I feel it's a little surreal.
Yeah. And it's like, we have to be so grateful, right? Because it's like that. If we're aging, that means we're still alive. We're still here. Yeah. Like, yes, aging is a great thing, but that's me trying to make that my new mindset. But it's hard. It's not what initially comes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like when people ask my age now, it's kind of like, ooh.
Yeah. I'm not ready to say I'm 36. I'm not, I mean, you know, I'm embracing it, but it's just like strange.
And that's it. At 36, you're pushing 40.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of that.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Yeah, we're done.
Good convo.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
My love.
Daddy.
My life. Mi esposa.
See.
Do you still like me?
I do still like you. Do you still like me?
I still like you. Peace, y'all.
Peace.